Hi, good morning or good afternoon or good evening, whatever time you are logging in to watch this. I hope your day is going well. Today is a workshop on vitamins, a really important workshop. We need to understand that there's a family of substances within our diet called micronutrients. So we have macronutrients that most of us understand, basics of protein, fats, carbohydrates. Micronutrients consist of essential fatty acids, vitamins, and minerals. And there's no way I could do a 1 hour workshop on all of those together because they're so essential in our diet. They really are the medicine that we're putting in our body, okay? And I strongly believe that we don't need pharmaceutical medicines if we're getting the right amount of micronutrients. So today is the big part of that micronutrient family, the vitamins. So all in all, they're organic substances that means they're made by plants or animals. So we get our vitamins via plants or animals, okay? Minerals, on the other hand, are inorganic elements that come from our soil, okay? And from our water. And the plants and the animals absorb those elements, okay? And that allows us to also get vitamins because they grow and then the plants and the animals have vitamins within them. Okay, so obviously, something might have sparked in you then that it's really important for us to have good soil quality in order to get good vitamin quality from our plants and animals, okay? Because that's what they're eating. But we'll touch on that a bit later, and obviously in the minerals workshop, which I will do also, you may have already watched it, I go a lot more into that as well. So today is on vitamins. They are so important that with an absence of one vitamin, we will die, okay? So I'm going to go through all of the vitamins today and talk about what robs our vitamins in our body, what stops us absorbing them, what is, how much do we need of each vitamin, what it does in the body, and also you will do a survey with me that goes, you may have already done it in the one-on-ones or you may not have done it yet, but you will do it, where I go through a checklist with you of symptoms, and it really helps us understand what vitamins you might be deficient in, okay? And then we can look at which ones you need to optimize further. So within the scientific community, there is recommended daily allowances of vitamins, and then there's optimal daily allowances of vitamins. Recommended daily allowances are only for mitigating deficiency. It's not to make you optimal. And in all the information you've probably ever received, it's about that minimum requirement you need. But that won't make you thrive. That will stop you from getting scurvy, for instance, okay? So we want you to have a long, healthy, thriving life where you have the energy and capacity to do everything you want to do, not just get through life, okay? And that is the difference between the RDA, the recommended, and the ODA, the optimal. So I'm going to talk about your optimal daily allowances today. It would be great if you have your writing book, your notebook or a pad and pen to write down everything you're going to learn. I've got PDFs as well within your portal that do have a lot of this information, so you don't have to write everything. But if you find there's tips that I say that really resonate with you, write it down. There's no test on this. Obviously, at the end of your program, we just want you to feel a lot better. So it's just whatever you can take in. When you write something down, you absorb it better, and it becomes more into your psyche. So knowledge is power. Write down as much as you want, okay? Okay, so I have a little screen next to me to prompt me of what I need to tell you guys today. So it's also important to know before I go into vitamins is it's still being researched. There's a lot in our foods that we don't know about yet. So for example, we know in oranges there's vitamin C and there's also fiber and there's water. But there's a lot of other things in that microscope, if you looked into the cell of an orange, that we haven't discovered what they do yet, okay? And the reason that nutrition is a slow process to discover things is because a company can't patent a vitamin. They can't. So if we find something in a plant or an animal that is really great for the body, no one can own that. So in order to do research on our whole foods, we need companies or someone with a lot of money to pay for that research to do proper double-blinded controlled trials. And a pharmaceutical company won't pay for that because they can't sell it afterwards. And that is the unfortunate thing about medicine at the moment. So doctors, general practitioners don't study nutrition. They do, I think when I was studying it, it was only 2 years into my degree, which I started in 2003, that doctors were doing, had just started at that time to do just a really small unit of nutrition and looking at what people eat. They have very, very small amounts of knowledge on food. So their job is to look at symptoms, what someone has, and prescribe a Band-Aid solution generally of that symptom, not looking at the root cause. Majority of doctors, some are great with functional medicine. So you're not necessarily fixing the problem, okay? And sometimes it can be so easy to fix the problem if you're just deficient in a vitamin. And it's important to understand that 90% of the population will be deficient in something, okay? So most of us are deficient in things, and that's what leads us to getting diseases or ongoing symptoms for certain things. So I really believe most things can be fixed with correct lifestyle strategies, okay? So the other thing that you will learn from this workshop is really what it means to have empty calories. So we know that food gives us energy, kilojoules or calories, it's measured in. But apart from that, you also can get a food that is packed full of vitamins and minerals and antioxidants, phytochemicals, lots of other things, good fats. So that do other things apart from giving us energy. So hopefully after these workshops, and especially this one, you're starting to think about when you eat food that it's not just to get protein. It's not just to get some carbohydrates in. It's also giving me this and this and this and this, okay? And that will stop you eating food that is wasting calories, you know, instead of having that burger that has lots of energy in it but not much vitamin content. You might eat something completely different that fulfills you and gives you more energy as well. Sometimes we feel hungry all the time because we're lacking in vitamins, not because we're lacking in energy. And you might notice that once you start packing more vitamins into your diet. Okay, so what do vitamins do in the body? First of all, each vitamin usually does more than one thing, but overall they allow proteins within our body to activate and work, and proteins are our healers and repairers of tissue. They assist as enzymes, and enzymes convert things to the next thing along for it to work in the body. They allow things in and out of our cells, and we're just made up of billions of cells. They regulate our genes, and some are converted into hormones, okay? So very essential in our body. And yes, some vitamins are still being discovered and we don't know everything about them yet. So just keep that in mind. So yes, you will do a symptom survey if you haven't already with me to see what symptoms you have that lead to certain vitamin deficiencies. And the other thing that's great to do is to have a blood test from your GP, because there's some things we can look for in blood tests that will show what level you have of that vitamin or mineral in your body. And so then we know, we can really see from a blood test, it takes 12 weeks, but you can really see if something's improved in your blood. And that's a really sure way to know if it's making a difference, if you're absorbing and things like that, the vitamin. So yes, I think a symptom survey and a blood test are great to do at the start of when you're starting a health program out. Okay, so before I list all these vitamins, we're going to look at what robs you of your vitamins. There's a lot of things. And so, for instance, pharmaceuticals, certain antibiotics, the birth control pill, laxatives, diuretics, lots and lots and lots of pharmaceuticals that you ingest will reduce your absorption of vitamins and minerals, and often they're used to remove that pharmaceutical out of your system as well, okay? Caffeine and black teas reduce your absorption. Phytates and oxalates, so they're compounds that sit on the outside of some foods, like on the outside of some nuts. You'll have them, and that can decrease the absorption of the vitamin inside the nut. So, but they're on lots of plants too, so it's always good to just wash off the plant before you eat it. Alcohol, cigarettes, stress, sugar, airborne chemicals, food processing, I'll go into a lot about that soon, refined foods, modern farming techniques, because obviously your soil's so important, heating of food, and then having excess. So, if you have too much salt in your diet, this is more of a mineral example, but too much salt, you won't be able to absorb your potassium as well. So we'll go into all of that. So now's the time to get your pen and paper out, but there are PDFs as attached with for this workshop video. So I have listed and given you a few different PDF options for what you like to look at and what makes sense to you in terms of what foods have these vitamins in them. What I'm going to talk about are the top foods for each vitamin. So, there will be, say, 20 foods that have vitamin C in it, if not more, but I'm just going to, in the video, list the very top ones with the highest amounts in it, okay? So the most bang for your buck to get that vitamin. However, in the PDFs, I've got big lists, and it's more for you to stick on your fridge so you can start to think about what foods you want to add into your shopping list for what you may be deficient in once you do the survey. Okay, so the first one is, I'm doing them in alphabetical order pretty much, is vitamin A. And you actually get vitamin A from two types of sources, because you have the whole vitamin A, which converts to retinol in our body. So you're probably thinking retinol is great for the skin. You put it on your skin, yes, but if you're adequate in vitamin A from your food, you produce your own retinol. And so that helps with good skin. It helps with lots of other things. So the whole form vitamin A, the optimum daily allowance is actually more than 2 times the recommended daily allowance. It's 5,000 recommended, but it's 8,250 units optimal, okay? So you can get this through fish, including fish oils and animal products, which I'll list. But you can have too much from the animal form, okay? So a great way to get the vitamin A form is through the plant option, where it converts into vitamin A once ingested in your body. And that's called beta-carotene, and that breaks down to carotenoids as well. So you might see beta-carotene or carotenoids used for vitamin A. So that's from plants. And there is no upper limit. You can't have too many of them. If you're pregnant, you have to watch how much you have of the direct form of vitamin A. That's all. But from plants, you can have as much as you like. It's essential for reproduction. It maintains our epithelial tissue. So all the tissue that lines and creates all our internal organs as well as our skin, vitamin A is essential for. It's essential for cancer prevention and precancerous conditions. It assists with reducing those risks. And it's actually really important for the eyes for 2 reasons. So, for instance, children with autism have trouble sometimes to look someone straight in the eye. If they're given fish oils, they're able to focus and look at someone straight in the eye. That is because a lack of vitamin A affects their visual perception, and it assists with the receptors in the peripheries of the eyes, okay? In terms of macular degeneration, there's 2 types of carotenoids found in the eye, and without them you get macular degeneration. So the yellow colour from vitamin A plants assists with absorbing the blue light that our eye sees, which is the worst light that comes into the eye. And if we're deficient in those carotenoids, we lose the ability, it actually oxidizes our eyes. So they're really important. So things like yellow capsicum help with that, okay? Not enough of these, of beta-carotene or vitamin A, increases your risk of lung cancer by 220%. Okay, so pretty important. So in terms of the direct form, the animal foods, it's livers. So beef liver, veal liver, things like that. They're the highest. Remember, there's other options on the list that I've put on your portal. And in terms of plant foods, it is capsicums, carrots, squash, the yellow squash vegetable. So they're really high in it. And so just keeping in mind that your optimal limit is 8,250 micrograms, okay, per day. So in your PDFs, I've listed what that looks like, okay, how much you would need. That is vitamin A. That's probably the most complicated one to explain. So the rest are pretty easy to understand. And that's just because there's 2 forms of vitamin A. And when you're a pregnant woman, you just have to be careful of not having too much of the animal form. Okay? But you can have as much as you like of the carotenoids that converts to beta-carotene, which You can have as much as you like, and that's from those yellow, orange, red vegetables, okay? B vitamins. You would have heard of B vitamins. We have a few B vitamins. There's 8 in total. There's 5 that are quite essential. We're usually okay. You know, it's hard to be deficient in 3 of them, but 5 of the B vitamins often we are deficient in, especially women. So I'm going to go through all of them anyway, but you may want to put this in your notes. The ones that you should probably really focus on being efficient in, or not deficient in, is B1, B2, B3, B6, and folic acid. Okay, they're the top ones that we're often deficient in. So B1 is thiamine, okay? It's actually, optimally, it's 11 times more than the recommended daily allowance is what we need, which is 9 milligrams per day, okay? 9 milligrams per day is your ODA, optimal daily allowance. It is essential for making use of protein in the body, energy production, brain function, and digestion. The foods highest in thiamine are peas, like green peas, beans, lamb, and asparagus, okay? B2, riboflavin. Its ODA is more than 2 times the recommended, and it's 1.7 milligrams per day is recommended, so not as much as vitamin B1 is needed, but you do need more of that if you exercise frequently. It's essential for, it helps turn fats, sugars, and proteins into energy. It repairs and maintains healthy skin, and it helps to regulate body acid, and good for hair, nails, and eye health, okay? So the foods, again, I've listed the foods that are highest in your riboflavin. On your PDF, I won't go through every single B vitamin for that because a lot of them are quite similar. So I'm going to go on to B3, and actually I will just look up. I'll come back to you. My notes are missing the B2, but I do have it listed. So I'll come back to you with B2, okay, of the top 3 or 4 foods. In terms of B3, niacin. Niacin, if you already take a multivitamin and it has niacin in it, and you notice when you take the multivitamin, you have fluoro-yellow wee, that is the niacin in the multivitamin. If you have niacin in the multivitamin that you're taking and you don't have fluoro-yellow wee, you really need that niacin because you're obviously deficient and you're absorbing it all. So after a while of taking the B vitamin supplement I noticed that my wee is getting really fluoro-yellow, and it just means that I've met my optimal limit of absorption, and I'm basically just weeing out my niacin because I don't need it anymore as a supplement, okay? So that's the fluoro-yellow in your multivitamins that you're weeing out. Optimum level is 6 times the recommended daily allowance, which is 115 milligrams per day. It removes unwanted cholesterol in the body, and the foods highest are actually mushrooms, broccoli, mackerel, milk, so just normal cow's milk, and wheat germ, okay? B5, which is pantothenic acid, is 10 times your recommended daily allowance is optimal, so that's 100 milligrams a day for that one. And the foods highest are lentils, mushrooms, eggs, avocado, and whole wheat. Vitamin B6, pyridoxine is its name. Its optimal level is also 10 times the recommended daily allowance, which equals 75 milligrams. Actually, the RDA is only 2 milligrams, so it's more than 10 times optimal. So you can see that's a very big difference. It's essential for all protein utilization. It assists with PMS symptoms, nerve damage, and reduces cardiovascular disease risk. And the foods highest in B6 are bananas, red kidney beans, Brussels sprouts, and cauliflower. Folic acid. Okay, folic acid, if you're a female and you've had kids, you'll know that it's essential to not have neural tube defects in infants, okay? The minimum is 400 micrograms per day, but you can have 800 micrograms per day to be optimal, and especially for the elderly, it's harder for them to absorb folic acid, so they really need to focus on having that 800 milligrams per day. In supplement form, it's often taken with B12, and that's just because folic acid deficiency can mimic B12 deficiency, which is anemia. So usually the two are given together in case it's one or the other. And the foods highest to get this is wheat germ, broccoli, peanuts, and sprouts, green sprouts. Okay, so the last two is biotin. We're generally it's unlikely to be deficient in biotin, but you can be. The optimum level and the RDA are the same. It's 225 micrograms. That is for... it helps us use our essential fatty acids, which means that it creates great hair, skin, and nails, okay? So, and also it helps to repair our nerves. So you'll see often there's biotin supplements, which is good. So if someone's like, oh, my hair's a bit lackluster, or my nails are weak, or my skin's not shiny, they'll take biotin. But it's important to understand that biotin helps to utilize your good fats, which actually create the silky, thick, healthy hair and the nice, strong nails and the skin as well. So sometimes they may be lacking in the essential fatty acids, not the biotin. The foods highest in biotin are oysters, eggs, herring, watermelon, and almonds. So interestingly enough, you'll see that the top ones are oysters, eggs, and herring, which have essential fatty acids in them anyway. So you might get a lot out of watching. I do a workshop on fats and talk a lot about essential fatty acids. So usually if someone's getting enough essential fatty acids, they're fine with their biotin. Vitamin B12. Okay, so it's actually 5 times the recommended daily allowance is optimal, which is 25 micrograms. So it's not a lot needed, but people are often deficient in B12. It's so important because without it, you can become anemic, because B12 is the carrier of oxygen in the blood. It's also needed for protein utilization, DNA synthesis, and it's essential for our nervous system to run smoothly. So the foods highest, sardines, oysters, and tuna and eggs, okay? And if someone is vegan, I have listed in the PDFs what else, but I'm giving you the highest bang for your buck of foods, okay? So they are your B vitamins, and I will come back and give you examples for riboflavin, which I missed, okay? So I will come back to that. I've got my notes down below me. I'll just have to turn some pages, okay? I've just forgotten to type it into my little script here. Okay, so I hope you got a lot out of the B vitamins and you've written some notes there. Remember also, I do a Q&A each week, So any questions you have on this, actually that's what I'll do. I will do in the Q&A the riboflavin foods, okay? So any questions you have on this workshop, anything at all, could be to do with the PDFs, doesn't matter. Just email me or message me on Facebook and ask your questions and I will answer it, okay, within this week. Vitamin C. Most of us know about vitamin C. It is so important in the body. It does a lot of things. We've got lots of options to get vitamin C from our foods. The optimum level, and you need more once you're over 35, we don't absorb it as easily, is 410 milligrams per day optimally. The recommended daily allowance is only 60 milligrams per day, so that's quite a difference. But if you had a cold or you felt like a cold was coming on, or to mitigate reduced cancer risk or cardiovascular disease risk, you could actually supplement up to 2,000 milligrams per day. And just to give you an example of why some things we need to supplement, not just get from our foods, is because it would take you 22 oranges to eat to get 1,000 milligrams, okay? So that's 44 oranges to get 2,000 milligrams in a day. That's why supplement form is good. It is essential for collagen production. So collagen is, that and water is our matrix of our myofascia and a lot of our skin. So it's pretty important to look after your vitamin C. It's also assists in bone formation, energy production, and it's also an antioxidant, which I go into antioxidants in another workshop, for free radical removal. And free radicals around our body are what can cause cancers and things like that. So they're basically come in from toxins and things that aren't good for us, and antioxidants like vitamin C come and scavenge those free radicals and break them apart and remove them out of our system, okay? So foods highest: red peppers, okay, like red capsicums, broccoli, strawberries, cauliflower, cabbage, lemons, kiwi fruit, oranges and tomatoes. And I've listed them more in order too, so you can see what is highest and what is lower. Good, that's vitamin C. Vitamin E, optimal level is 15 times the recommended, so it's 450 international units, and that's the way that vitamin E and some other fats are measured, in international units. So vitamin E is, there's lots of things. It helps us to use our oxygen in our body properly. It assists removal of infections, especially in the elderly, decreases cancer risk, and adequate optimal vitamin E reduces your risk of cataracts by 50 times. So you have 50 less, it's pretty strong. So make sure you have your vitamin E and an adequate amount to reduce your risk of having cataracts as we age. Foods highest in vitamin E: sunflower seeds, sesame seeds, peanuts, and wheat germ. Yes, that's all on vitamin E. Vitamin D, and these vitamin E and vitamin D are fat soluble vitamins, okay? So you need to have fat cells to absorb them, okay? So vitamin D, measured in international units, optimal amount needed is 400 international units, so around the same as vitamin E. It's essential for strong bone maintenance because it retains calcium within the bones, and its foods highest are herring, mackerel, and salmon. Interestingly enough, vitamins A, C, and vitamin E help to protect vitamin E to allow it to be made, recycled and made in the skin. So our body makes it ourselves, but if we're deficient in other vitamins, it's not making it. Also, we need the sun to make it within our skin. So if someone's wearing sunscreen all the time or not in the sun, it does need to be supplemented with food or a supplement, which is herring, mackerel and salmon, high in vitamin D. Also, if someone has like dark skin, if they're indigenous and they're in a place that is overcast a lot, they need more sun to create the vitamin D as well. So a few things to think about there. Lots of people can be deficient in vitamin D without thinking they would be. Okay, that's vitamin D. Vitamin K, one that we're generally not that deficient in, and even I think I noticed on one of the PDFs I did years ago, but I've uploaded for you, I hadn't even put vitamin K on the list because it wasn't necessarily an essential vitamin to ingest, because we actually make it ourselves within our own body. But if we have poor gut health, we aren't necessarily making it. So the recommended daily allowance is the same as optimal, and that's 80 milligrams a day. So if someone is deficient in vitamin K, you usually check their gut intestinal health first and treat that, and then the absorption will stop being a problem, or the process of making it won't be a problem. Vitamin K is essential for, it helps to control and dictate the process of blood clotting, so healing when we have wounds internally and externally. So if you're lacking in vitamin K, you may bleed very easily and not heal wounds, okay? That might be a symptom. And I remember I had a client who was really, really healthy, like nutritionally. They had these big green smoothies all the time, and they had breast implants, and they had a lot of issues with encapsulitis and things like that. And it got put down to that they were so healthy, they were having so much vitamin K in their diet that it was trying to protect the new implant, because it was a foreign object to the body and it was causing too much healing around, and it was almost like creating this big scar tissue around the breast implant. So foods highest, if you're getting it from your diet, are dark green leafy vegetables. So, green spinach leaves and things like that. Cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, but really it's the healthy gut and intestinal bacteria that make the difference. You can have deficiencies though if you're on antibiotics, obviously, because it's affecting your gut health. And there is shown to be vitamin K deficiencies in babies that aren't breastfed as well. Okay, so they are all of the vitamins, and remember in the Q&A I will do the riboflavin, the top ones. I'd like to finish this workshop with 8 top tips of how to get the most out of your food and vitamins, because how we cook our food and store it can heavily affect how we absorb the vitamins and also how they're lost in the food, because sometimes we can have all this healthy fresh produce and then we could lose it in the cooking. So here's my top 8 tips to get the most vitamins out of your food. Okay, so number 1, eat as fresh and unprocessed as possible, okay? So, because for instance, you can lose up to 70% of the nutrient content from leafy green foods if you cook it. So spinach, kale, all of those. What's the other one? My mum grows one. It's got a funny name. They, if you cook them down, you often lose the nutritional benefit. So I usually, for instance, say I do a toasty, like I'm just making a toasty on Turkish bread or whatever. I'll do the toasty and then I'll chop up all the spinach at the end and put it, open the top of the toasty and put it in and then eat it instead of cooking it, okay? Things like that. Having your leafy greens in salads instead of cooked. Number 2 is keep fresh food cold and in the dark in a sealed container in the fridge to maintain their nutrient qualities, because as days go on, the cell walls sort of break down and die and you're losing the vitamins that are in there. So yeah, keep it in a sealed container in the fridge as best you can. Eat more raw food, so grate your beetroot and your carrot over salads or sandwiches and things like that. And there's a tinned beetroot shortage at the moment, so if you can get fresh beetroot from somewhere, use it and grate it. Number 4 is, less cooking is better for the plant foods, except broccoli, because it is so can be quite tough sometimes. Broccoli, they have shown that partially cooking it, just softening it enough, the cell wall breaks down a little bit, that allows you to absorb the nutrients in broccoli better. But definitely don't boil your food unless you're going to drink the contents of the water afterwards. But even then, the heat from boiling often kills off the vitamin content. And I remember, back in the day, boiling, I don't know if it was my grandma or just whoever it was, someone used to boil a lot of their vegetables, and I remember learning this at uni and thinking, they're just wasting all their vitamin content. So, and that's often also why the food doesn't taste as good when it's boiled, because you've lost the vitamin content, which has flavour. So, for instance, with soups, you can make like a soup, say carrot soup or something like that. You can blend it all up cold and not actually cook it, and then you can just heat it to room temperature to eat the soup. That would maintain your vitamins much better in that sort of meal. And if you do have to boil it or cook it in water, don't cook it in too much water and use the water as a broth. Also, you can cook things in more of a whole form, so roasting. Try and roast the vegetables in big form and then slice or cut them up when you're actually eating them or before serving. The 6th point is don't burn, overcook or brown the food too much. So minimal frying, just lightly fry, don't fry for too long. And the last 2 points, number 7, is, you can probably see from what I said and the amount you need, supplement your diet to ensure you get your optimum daily allowance. So you will see in the PDFs that you've got what it takes, how much food of these sources you need to get your optimum, and sometimes that's a lot. So supplementing helps. I do take supplements. Unfortunately, I didn't used to take supplements years ago after I'd done my nutrition degree. I didn't, because I did learn that we can get enough from our food if we eat really well. However, now, unfortunately, the way that we farm, majority of places farm, we're not getting as much bang for our buck per carrot, for instance, that we did a long time ago. So I do supplement now. And I mean, I live in a place where, yes, I'm lucky I can grow my own fruit and vegetables, but they're still seasonal, and you know, I don't always have enough of a certain thing to eat enough that day of it. So supplementing does help, and getting good supplements, not the ones off the shelf in the supermarket. They're not that good, okay? So remember, you can always talk to me about supplements. I don't make money off supplements to you guys. If you're doing my program, you get the same price I get, but they are the best ones, I think. And then the last option, number 8, is go by this rule. Good food goes off quick. So the less refined a food is, the less processed it is, the more vitamin it has in it, but it doesn't last as long. Okay, so we process things to refine them, and unfortunately, through processing, we lose the nutrients. So yes, eat fresh, it's healthier, but you have to constantly be getting fresh food in. I understand that, so store it in cool places, sealed containers to look after it, and it will last longer. Okay, that is a big workshop. That's a lot of information. You may want to listen to that twice, but if you look at the PDFs I've sent you, that really does go through a lot of what I've talked about. You can stick them up on your fridge and sort of just, or on your toilet door or something like that, so it's getting into your head, and you can make a list yourself of your shopping list of the foods that you think you should probably start taking. I go through that with you in one of the sessions anyway, because we look at your symptom checker, and if you've had blood tests, I look at that and tell you which vitamins to focus on for you. But for now, it's something to think about. And the other thing is, in the one-on-ones, we look at what a deficiency of a vitamin looks at for you. So, you know, tingly feet or fatigue, even with the right amount of sleep all the time. There's lots and lots of symptoms, and we work out which ones you're probably deficient in, and then confirm that with blood tests, and then we can really hone in specifically for you. But this is a great thing for your partner, your family, your friends, to also have these lists and make sure that you're getting at least one food from each vitamin in your meals every day. Okay? Q&As, send me through any questions that you've got, and I will do another shorter video on those this week as well. Thank you. Have a great day.